Hello, folks. Facebook. For those who are signing in early, I just went, because part of my environment is not working correctly. Just remove, that's not going to happen. Remove. Sorry for the rambling. For those who are starting in early, we do this. Myself, I'm Joe Wesley, and my guest is Dr. Dan. And we started early, one, to do glitches. This is a live performance, and things can happen. And I just noted that our Facebook connection was not happening. I think we're now functional. I tell people I love StreamYard. It works well for me. However, this is not the fault of StreamYard. I still have challenges with the platform that I'm on. And we do post simultaneously live to Facebook, to LinkedIn, to YouTube, and to Twitter. Sometimes the connection doesn't happen. You have to always sign up. I do this religiously every 2 weeks prior or on a routine twice a month, and we still get a drop call sometimes. So the very beginning was not part of the program. But now 8 o'clock. For those who are signing on, I'm Joe Wesley, and I'd like to introduce Dr. Dan Schaefer. Thank you for joining us. For those who are visiting us for the first time, I appreciate your curiosity. We hope that you will appreciate what we're doing. The rules here is, are you prepared to take the hot seat to discover an ingredient of your secret sauce? And I say ingredient because it's only 30 minutes, and I'm not going to peel off a stranger's whole life of any value in a 30-minute time period. But most people aren't aware they have a secret sauce that gives them a unique distinction over their competition in their market, much less how to find it and then how to put it to use. But for those who take the challenge, and every day is a challenge, for whether you're in business or not, for yourself. For those who are prepared to take the challenge, they will discover something about themselves that when we finish this half-hour program, that will add value to the business over their competition. Now, the rules of engagement here is this is live. It's not rehearsed. There is no pre-knowledge of what we're going to do other than my asking at some point, Dr. Dan, what's his favorite pastime? And then we'll do about 18 or 20 minutes of that. Having done that, we'll flow that into the final 10 minutes of how that person's secret sauce describes that persona, my guest, and how it provides a unique value to the business, of value to you, the consumer. And it's discovering an ingredient value for your ideal market. We ask several things of you. Don't forget to subscribe. By the way, please leave comments. We do edit comments made, again, on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. If you're watching us through YouTube, remember to sign in, because otherwise we won't receive the comments coming from you. Remember to share us. Remember to subscribe with other people. For those of you who are coming back, thank you again for that. To anybody who has interest in learning more about their secret sauce can sign up. Just connect with myself or what I do as an environment. For those who will appreciate better the value of Dr. Dan, he too will have in the commentary, the descriptions, links to connect with him also. So as I said, now that I've done the commercial break, good morning, Dr. Dan. How are you doing?
Hi, Joe. Listen, thank you so much for the invitation today.
Okay. Well, actually, folks, I don't normally invite people, so that's almost a misnomer. He volunteered. There are people who volunteer to take challenges. And for those who aren't inclined to do that, you say, what the flip would you want to do that for? Well, hopefully we'll find out more from Dr. Dan why he took the challenge. But let's say it this way, to start off, Dr. Dan, what's your favorite pastime? Oh, other thing, I'm sorry, because it's not rehearsed. Sometimes I'll be looking down. I do take notes because I have a mind or a memory like a sieve. So I'm not looking to see what's the next question. It's what can I make a note to come back to. So Dr. Dan, what's your favorite pastime?
Right now, my favorite pastime is working with my clients and working on strategies to discover new ways for them to promote themselves.
I hear that, and I respect that. I appreciate that, but I'm going to make a wild assumption here. When you were a 6-year-old kid, you weren't doing what you're doing now. So
That's
that so there are some things perhaps you were doing that if you had the time, I'll say this differently. Hey, if you had the time, I know what you're going to say. Do the same thing. Have the time, the money, the resources. You enjoy what you're doing. I get that. But we want to know something about you, the persona. So before you locked in, because we'll find some way a path how you got to where you are now. But it would be helpful. I need to know what you enjoy doing, perhaps in your younger days of living.
I play blues guitar.
Oh,
I've been
okay,
very, very fortunate to work with some very talented people. I had a very good friend of mine who I was taking lessons from, and I sat in with him at BB King's.
right.
So playing at BB King's was something I never expected to do, but it was fun at the time. And so, it's finding the time now to play the guitar.
What is it about now? I don't believe you woke up one day and you got zapped by lightning. Says, "I got to do blues guitar." What was your path or your journey to that position?
Path was I took, very interesting. I took guitar lessons from a traditional guitar teacher.
I'm going to interrupt again. Did you listen? You were listening to the radio one day, or you went to a live show and I like guitar. Or,
No, I don't know how that transitioned. I know my father said to me, he liked guitar. He didn't play, but I went to take guitar lessons
right.
at a time when rock and roll was starting.
Okay.
And he was a traditional guitar player.
Oh, your father's a guitar
No,
player.
no, no, no.
Oh,
The guy I took the guitar lessons from was a
okay.
guitar
Right.
player. And I said to him, I want to learn to play what I hear on the radio.
Right.
He said to me, that's garbage. It's never going to last. And so at that point in time, I started to defy conventional wisdom and I started to play on my own.
Right.
Uh, Put that aside, went to college, Kingston Trio came out. And I said, gee, I can play this stuff. And so I got my guitar again, played the Kingston Trio,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of other music that was going on. And then I came back into guitar playing probably 25 years ago with a good friend of mine who played the guitar. And that,
Interesting. Now you say blues guitar, yes?
yes,
That's a very strong niche. And when I say strong, I don't mean in popularity. It's a niche. That's a mild way of saying it. Why blues? Why not?
I don't know. It just seemed to me to be an easier guitar playing. I don't read music.
Okay.
And so I found it that I play by ear.
Okay.
And so I was constantly seeking out ways to learn and play better. And then, interesting stuff happened, Joe. My son was married in Anguilla. I met the uh, island guitar player in Anguilla.
Right.
My guitar with me. I sat in with him. He described us as coffee and cream, as a new group on Anguilla.
I might have said that.
And then I went back to Anguilla again, and I played. I played. He saw me walking through the lobby of a hotel, introduced me, and we played, sang again. So it's been a wonderful pastime for me.
I hear that. Now music was not my forte in playing. Listening I like, but since you didn't read music, you developed your skill by improvisation or hitting jam sessions. How did that work for you?
Yeah, I had the ability to play by ear.
Mm-hmm.
So I found myself gravitating toward, throw together groups. When I had my office and lived in the city, I worked with some people there who had bands who practiced in the city.
Mm-hmm.
I would go to Jersey with my friend and sit in with him at places that he was playing. So it was very unstructured, but it was enjoyable.
Okay. Why? I gotta ask again. You're not my stereotype of someone playing the blues. And I appreciate the coffee and cream metaphor. If I heard that correctly, what was unique to that genre that grabbed at you?
Seemed to me to be easier to play than flamenco guitar.
Mm.
It was easy to improv with it, and so
I'm going to interrupt if I can. Maybe jazz might have been a broader range, but yet you said
no,
blues.
not no jazz is. I don't particularly care for jazz,
Okay, interesting.
but blues guitar, country and western, that kind of stuff, I really enjoy.
Okay, so country and western also. And I was about to say the blues is kind of a soulful flavor, as is country and western. Would that be a denominator, common denominator for you?
Might be, it might be.
So there's a certain. So it was more than the ability to free form. It was somehow the draw of the messaging. Maybe I won't say emotional messaging. That's a little bit far out for me, but something about the messaging of the music that was maybe a draw for you also.
Uh, I'm not so sure.
Right.
I know that the ability to be creative.
Okay.
I found a wide ability to be creative playing blues guitar.
Right. I'm making notes, folks. How did you get into the path of what is it? I don't want to ask what is it you do, but to move forward. So you played multiple times. You keep coming back to guitar playing. Now you walked away, I'm assuming, because you got preoccupied doing something else.
Absolutely.
So was it you missing something? You had free time at the moment, or is it in your blood system? You had to keep coming back. What was the drawback to it?
Joe, I can't explain completely how I got to be doing what I'm doing. It started quite a while ago,
Right,
but it seemed to me that I was drawn to helping people uh, who were in a unique niche situation, asking themselves, what do I do next? Why am I stuck? Um, what can I do to speed up or fast track my career? And also coming back to the golfers. I was drawn to hypnosis. I did a lot of work with using hypnosis to
I have to interrupt. You said golfers.
golfers.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's the first time I heard this word in this dialogue. You kind of snuck that one in there very nicely. How did you get involved in golf as a profession, an activity?
I played golf when I combined and I saw the value that a particularly designed hypnotic strategy had on helping people to control a mind game.
If I hear that, but I'm going to interrupt again. That's rather cerebral. What I'm asking is, what age did you start playing golf? Let me ask you that.
Oh, uh, probably around 68, 69.
Okay. Did you have a good friend that invited you for business purposes? Hey, let's go round of golf and
No, it just, yeah, yes, I had a neighbor who played, and I found it very difficult to find time to play on Saturdays because I worked during the week and I had four kids at that
mm,
time, five
okay,
now. So,
right,
so it was, I realized that I couldn't spend time doing that.
okay,
So I had to put that aside.
right. So you couldn't spend time doing it. You're a parent, uh, and you had a job you had to do, but for some reason you went back to it anyway. You found time to play golf. Yes, because
Yeah, yes, I was able to I fitted into the environment that I was in at the time.
okay,
I was clearly not good enough to play on a high level.
right,
I played it, at outings. I remember going to an outing and having a business owner give me uh, logo golf balls
right.
with his company information on it. And he said, the reason I'm giving them to you is because I know you're going to lose them and people will pick them up. And so that's the story.
fair, fair
So,
enough. Fair enough.
so I in one way, because I didn't play golf well enough,
Hmm.
I helped him grow his business.
Fair enough. That's funny. Opportunists out there. That's intriguing. And meanwhile, you get free golf balls to knock out there. So, okay, you play golf. I'm trying to phrase the question. I kind of understand why you play music. You were drawn to it, maybe the emotional side of it. What was the motivational factor for playing golf?
It was uh, situational. I was in a situation where I had friends who played,
Okay,
took some lessons, decided to play. Uh, I was able to um, design my day, my week around that.
right,
I would sometimes play golf very early in the morning before I went to work.
right.
And so it just was an interesting dynamic.
So you stayed with it despite being awful at it. Was that for business? I'm
Oh,
assuming.
no, I wouldn't say awful at it.
Right.
I was getting better at it.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. And meanwhile, there's a business advantage of playing golf. The advantage of playing the guitar. I'm assuming that was not a business focus. That was what, an emotional focus or a
No,
creative
just
focus.
just just I had that talent to be able to, in some ways, defy conventional wisdom of playing music,
Right.
and I did that. Yeah, I did it because I like to do it, Joe.
I hear that.
I was in a situation where I could decide what I wanted to do, and I did it.
I hear that. Making another note, folks. Back to golf. I'm hearing you did it because it had some pragmatic basis to it. Was there, and I rephrase it, I'm making a contrast between your music, you're playing the guitar, the presumed fellowship, you were good at it as a skill, whereas we flipped to golf that you weren't necessarily very good at it. Maybe there wasn't much emotional attachment. And I'm trying to make a connection, and I get the situational side of it. On the golf item, business enhancement, the music would have been, I think, more of an emotional experience. Am I right about that so far? The
I,
differences?
I think I think that you're trying to make a tough comparison
Yes,
that really,
doesn't
in
exist.
my mind, doesn't play out.
Okay, well, fair enough. If it's not so much a comparison or even a contrast, what I'm saying, not yet, is that the two sides of you, at least that I've observed, that you do the guitar playing for one particular reason, and you do the golf playing for another particular reason. I don't think anybody's monodimensional or unidimensional, if I'm using that phrase correctly. So I want to highlight more the contrast than to draw a comparison between the two, because that gives a circle or encompasses who is this person, Dr. Dan
Well,
syndrome.
I think you've hit on something, Joe.
Well, thank you very
Which
much.
doesn't, which doesn't which doesn't surprise me. You being a physician,
Right.
uh, I think that you've hit on the fact that a lot of what I do is invisible.
Okay.
People don't see it.
All right.
It's not definable.
Mm-hmm.
The outcome's definable, but the what I do and why I do, and I can tell you a brief story.
Please do.
I I wrote an article for a magazine called it "There Was Money in Mistakes,"
Mm-hmm.
and at a
Excuse me.
cock,
I like that. There's money in mistakes. Yes,
yeah,
that's the title. I
and
like that.
and then there was the editor said to me, Dan, nobody knows what you do. Tell me what you do.
Mm-hmm.
I said to her, the best thing I can do is show you because everything I do is invisible and under the radar for the most part. I said to her, do you like red wine? She said, yes, I love red wine. I said, okay. She had a glass of red wine in her hand.
Mm-hmm.
I said, you're going to be surprised to notice that when you walk up the steps of your apartment, put your key in the door, open the lock, put your hand out to the doorknob, the minute your hand hits the doorknob, you're going to think of red wine.
Mm-hmm.
And she said to me, come on, how is that going to happen? And I saw her years later, and she said to me, Dan, it went on for months and months and months and months. And so the application of that kind of a strategy, which I discovered in working with her, uh, has had application in sports, has had application for business leaders, and it comes into a lot to do with preparing to compete.
Right.
Because I find, as I'm sure you find, that you talk to people who uh, don't have a system to prepare to compete. If my business clients prepared as well as my sports clients, I think they get different results.
Fair enough. I'm going to make another observation because I said the first 18 to 20 minutes will talk about who you are, and then the last 20 minutes will flow into what you do as a business. And so I'm going to ask you first. You've already described in part what you do, but I'm going to take some dialogue about your younger lifestyle. And what I'm impressed by are at least two things. I refer to my notes again. When you played music, when you played the guitar, I ask you why you chose that. Jazz seemed to imply, and I'm intrigued particularly, again, you're not my stereotype of someone playing jazz. So, but it tells me that you chose something, one, because of the enjoyment of it. I'm going to make an assumption, this is what this is all about, of sorts, that there's somewhat of an emotional draw to it. Besides the freedom of it, you were pragmatic in how you approached it, that you don't have to read music to do it well. Something I hear that you did decently well enough to perhaps even make money out of it with a group or a band, at least for the enjoyment of the moment. Whereas the golf example, yes, indeed a contrast. And there's a commonality as we're talking that comes to me, that not necessarily very good at it, but for business purposes, it's appropriate to make the connection. Each of these instances were a challenge to you. And despite that, you kept at it. And you talk about prepared to compete. Well, competition is a challenge in itself. And so you have two aspects of your life, and I call it the left brain and the right brain. The guitar playing, more the right brain, feeling good, a good feel about it. The left brain, well, if I'm going to make connections to make business, I've got to do this. But it was competition, not necessarily intuitive for you. You realize you had to work at it to make it happen. And you weren't born to be that. You touch the guitar and all of a sudden you're a national TV or something. It was a process. And if I'm wrong on this, please stop me. But through that process, you became proficient enough at it to make it worthwhile, keep going, and still build your business as you're doing. And so you have some people say, as I'm hearing, well, I have to be born that way to be successful, or I have to be lucky to be successful. You're kind of a walking model saying, no, you don't have to be successful to get to where you want to go, or have it as a...
Joe, let me interrupt you for just a minute. One of the things you need to know is where you want to be.
Yes.
And one of the things that's unusual, since you're looking for what's unusual about how I operate,
Right.
is that every one of my clients today is in 2028 working backwards.
Okay.
And I've used this globally with Hewlett Packard all over the world. And basically, you if you have a goal and an objective, your subconscious mind
Mm-hmm.
will help you activate and make that happen. So what I do is I have somebody tell me, and I could ask you, where do you see yourself in 2028?
Mm-hmm.
And then let's look backwards from 2028 to today to find absolutely anything that you could do to foul that up, to make absolutely certain that it doesn't work.
I hear that, and then I'm going to interrupt you back again. But I think what brings you, rephrase that. I suspect, if I understand correctly, you have a PhD in, is it psychiatry or
No, psychology.
psychology? I'm sorry, and your particular focus. I'm going to ask you the question. Then I'm going to come back to my statement again. Your particular focus with your training, your skills, is to help people discover themselves. If I'm hearing that correctly.
Uh, to find out what's in their way.
Okay.
See, it's to say to an athlete, one of the most important things you need to do is identify what distracts you, because you can't control what you can't see, hear, or feel.
Fair enough. And some people, maybe in one aspect of that, might call it a mindfulness concept, but I think you're more sophisticated or elaborate. I'm not knocking the industry folks for having maybe used that word incorrectly. What I'm hearing, though, is that you have an intuitive ability to work with that type persona because your life has been, at a younger phase, are working with things that weren't intuitive or inherent in your skill subsets. And because you had to
Fair
go,
enough.
pardon?
Fair enough.
Okay, and so that's the observation I'm making that provides part of your sauce ingredient to your market. That you can say to people, if not directly, I get you because I had the same limitations myself, but it didn't stop me from what I wanted to achieve because of that. And that's what I'm hearing. So you give the two different examples of it. And here you are now doing a very good job at what you do, or have a job. I hate to say that because you're your own persona. You provide a valued service. And I say that too because for those of you, the public, I don't know your profession. I don't have the skill subsets to choose you over somebody else saying pretty much the same thing, perhaps. I'm going to help you work against your negatives to smooth out your path to be more successful. I've heard variations of that from different coaches. I'm not knocking the concept. But as a consumer, I still don't know any more than any, meeny, miny, mo. And I'll treat you maybe as a commodity. If you're cheaper than everybody else, maybe I'll give you my consideration. But what I hear about you is that you've kind of walked your talk, that as an individual, you've taken on challenges that weren't necessarily intuitive to you. You would teach yourself at times. You weren't going to allow obstacles to slow you down. And even if somebody's going to help you promote their golf ball because they know you're going to lose them, okay, that works because this is where I want to go. So rather than get offended by it, you're going to move ahead. And that's what makes Dr. Dan, Dr. Dan. So for the market out there, for people who are listening, who haven't yet hear the value of what you're saying, but geez, why you are not your competition? Where as far as I'm concerned, Dr. Dan is the go-to guy that will have an intuitive sense of the challenges you may not even be aware of that's holding you back. And having the awareness, then having the persona, the style, the moxie to move that to your advantage and move forward. Am I far off on that, the concept?
You're right on target, Joe.
Okay, thank you.
You're right on target because I think that it's one of the things is it's not easy for people to defy conventional wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
Coming from being an eye surgeon to what you're doing now is an amazing transition for someone to make. I admire what you've accomplished and what you're doing now, but I think that people really have to make a decision about what they want to have happen for themselves, and they can explore what's going to work for them.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like someone said, if you keep doing what you're always doing, you're going to get what you always got.
Okay. Well, I think I'm hearing you take it one step further. I think people were afraid to explore because one, a non-awareness of the option, and number two, feel that they're not up to the stuff it takes. But you are a walking example. Historically, you may not present that in your marketing approach, but you have an intuitive insight in helping somebody who hold themselves back and moving in a more progressive manner, a more valued manner for their lifestyle.
I'm
It's
amazed,
interesting.
Joe, that you got to that in a half hour.
Okay, well, thank you.
But
By the way,
that's really what this is about. Is someone will say, "How do you know this?" I have no idea
mm-hmm.
where it comes from, but I know that everybody reads energy, and to pay attention to that, to pay attention to what the energy is,
Right.
it's important, and to have people comfortable with the way they operate.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I got to do a commercial break. Thank you for your response back for that. Again, folks, this is not rehearsed. It's not scripted. It doesn't. And for those of you who would like to discover an ingredient of your secret sauce, please link in my bio, half of it, in terms of how to connect with me. For those who like what Dr. Dan is representing and are looking to move ahead in your life, your business also, and there may be, you may walk two paths. I know sports is your primary focus, yes?
No, sports and business. It's
Sports
mixed
and
both
business.
ways.
Okay, and to me, they're really very similar, except maybe one may be more a mental attitude versus physical, but even sports is a mental process also. Then,
Happens faster, Joe.
fair enough.
Faster than business.
Fair enough. I get that. That's a good point. So he too would be your go-to guy in terms of looking to improve the value you can provide for your business, and by not one holding yourself back, certainly from your contacts. I'm going to ask again, folks, those of you who are listening to us, thank you again for listening. We appreciate that. We do ask that if you have comments, questions, critiques, even more important, please share that. We do audit input. Remember to share us with people around you, and please come back and listen to us again. We do this on a regular basis. It is Monday at 8 o'clock to 8:30, half an hour. And we hope you in the audience also feel desire, interest, or need to be part of discovering a part of your secret sauce. Dr. Dan, we have about a minute left. Anything you'd like to say to take this home?
Just thanks for the invitation to be here. And one of the things I tell everybody, and I will use you as an example. I would like to know what Joe Wesley hears Joe saying to Joe, and Joe overhears Joe talking to Joe.
Fair enough. Very coherent. Thank you again, folks, for sharing with us. Let's get better connection between us, and we're looking forward to talking with you guys again. Take care.